So I'd like to start by thanking our partners. These organizations, many of them who are leaders in this space, and saw that how important Buy Local was for many, many years. So thanks to all of them and all of you who've joined us from those partner organizations today. I really appreciate it. Also, just to let you know, I'm calling in from the traditional territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people. And it's now known as East Vancouver. And I'd just like to show my appreciation for the stewardship of the land for time immemorial. So LOCO is a not-for-profit organization, and we do research mostly around the important impact of independent business. And so often that's economic impact, but sometimes that's social and environmental impact. And then we do try to take those statistics and turn them into campaigns for, to try to change policy or to try to change purchasing habits. And we also, as part of our campaigns, do impact measurement with businesses. So we're, local businesses for various reasons are often really much more impactful than their multinational competitors, but they're most impactful when they have, policies to be the best employers, the best purchasers, the best for the environment and their communities. And so we are often doing impact measurement, and we have different tools that we use for that to help them understand where their impact comes from, and then maybe where they can improve their impact. Sometimes when we see that there's policy work that needs to be done, we don't often do like a lot of the advocacy around it, but often we'll partner with various organizations to try to bring data that can support that advocacy movement. And so, one example is we had heard about the permitting delays, which are a bit notorious for business in the city of Vancouver. And so worked with a consortium of organizations in 2020 to try to address what the cost is of that to the business itself who's waiting, and then the broader local economy, because when a business is not open, it can't buy from local suppliers or hire local people. And so, that kind of data then has been used to help change the permitting process at the city. So we're often doing work like that. We're just launching a new project around commercial affordability, because that's a crisis that's coming along concurrently with the affordable housing crisis, and not a lot of people are focusing on that. So that's just an example of the kind of work that we do. Been around since 2009. So local businesses, as we're all hearing, you'd have to have your head in the sand to not really be hearing that there's so much dialogue around the importance of independent business these days. Economic security, sovereignty is something that we're really focusing on right now. And the research that we've done over many years, since 2013, we've been doing research on the economic importance of independent business. When you buy from a local business, it keeps 63% of the money in the community, compared to 14% for a kind of a comparable multinational in that sector. And that's 4.6 times the economic impact. So that just can create a lot of jobs and keep a lot of money in the local community. When you spend $1 of revenue in a business, eventually, you try to keep it recirculating in the community as much as possible. And I'm going to let you know in a minute how that happens. But, eventually it's going to leak out. But with local businesses, that recirculation happens a lot more frequently before it sort of ends up leaving the community. And with multinationals, big businesses, online platforms, it happens much more quickly. Not as much stays in the local community. And so, we know how important that is for local owners and local employment and local profits to stay, or local jobs to stay in the community. We worked with the Canadian Federation of Independent Business in 2023 on the first Canada-wide study. So most of our research was just focused on BC in the past. And then CFIB approached us and said, help us with your methodology. How do you do it? And then we were the BC partner to distribute that through our network of partners on our Buy Local campaign to businesses, to get them to there's a lot of math that happens in the background of these studies to try to track where the revenue goes. But we looked at retail only and found it's actually really high in retail. There's more employment per square foot in retail and various other things that contribute to this. But we found that it's 6 times in retail compared to, so like a local brick and mortar retail store compared to a multinational brick and mortar retail store. It's 6 times. When you look at a local brick and mortar retail store compared to like an online platform that has no brick and mortar presence, they might have like warehouses and delivery and things like that. I'm sure you can imagine who they are. It's 8 times. So it's huge, and study after study has shown where this economic impact comes from and how important it is in our communities. Here's a bit of a breakdown where, where it is in the local business, how many cents go to sort of profits and to payroll, and then purchasing and philanthropy, and then where it is in multinationals. So of course there's some benefit to multinationals and online, but it's just much, 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 much less.
Sorry, can I just jump in
Yeah.
1 second
Yeah.
with my
Of course, you have a
old
question?
here?
Yeah.
So
Do you want me to go back to that?
no, well,
Okay.
just is logistical. Is it possible to make the slides
Yes.
bigger?
Yes, of course. I'm sorry for that. It's hard to see. It's hard for me to know how you see it versus what I'm seeing. Is that better?
That's
Try to
good.
get it so that I'm losing. You're gonna have the black thing on there. Okay. Thanks for that, Carolyn. So in 2013, often these things look at like restaurants and retail, and so it's the consumer facing side of things. But in 2013, we knew another study was happening on restaurants and retailers, so we did one on like a supplier. Of course, everybody buys office supplies, so that's a consumer purchase as well. But we were trying to look at business purchasing and also government and institutional purchasing, and provide some data there. So we did office supplies, a local office supply company, compared to Grand & Toy was the Canadian brand of Office Max. It had just been purchased by Office Max at some point in the previous few years. And then compared it to Staples and Office Depot, which had just closed all their brick and mortar stores. So that Office Depot is comparing like a purely online office supply company. Kind of had the foresight in 2013 to see that that's how things were going. And it's double the impact from the next comparable. So Office Max and Grand & Toy have unionized employees, so that bumps it up a little bit above kind of the next comparable, which would be Staples. But even still, it's 33% local recirculation for the local office supply company versus just shy of 19% for Grand & Toy with unionized employees, and then it would be like more than double for Staples, and 32% higher for compared to the online purchase of office supplies. So it's huge. Again, looking at the business to business type of purchase, it's still a really big impact. So we usually are measuring the economic impact. We've also done a study measuring the environmental impact. But the impact kind of comes in the 4 areas. I like to call them the 4 Ps, just because it's easy to remember. So it's the when a dollar goes into a local business, we track of course, there's like taxes and things like that, but local, if they have a brick and mortar store, a multinational is also paying taxes. So we don't look at those things, but we look at profits to local owners, payroll to local employees, purchasing of, like, sometimes it's goods if you have inventory. There's goods that are consumed in a business, but every business has services. And then the philanthropy is the 4th thing. So that's the charitable giving. And then, of course, my background is in sustainable business. I'm a big proponent of those things. And so we also look at what I call the 5th P, which is the more the practices side. So environmental practices, social practices. We're not measuring that when we do these economic studies, but we have looked at some of those things, and certainly those benefits are there. So other local impacts are the social impacts and the environmental benefits. So as we're seeing, so one of the social benefits is the economic security that we have. It's, food security, economic sovereignty, all those things. Community resilience, we're just more resilient to these types of economic shocks, but also, climate change and other things that could disrupt our economy for various reasons. It contributes to community character. I mean, we don't want every neighborhood to look like every other neighborhood in Canada or the US. And so that's what can happen when we become overrun with multinationals. So
I mean,
I'm just going to mute people who are, there's noise in the background. So it contributes to community character. It builds the social fabric. Small businesses are often providing that third space for meeting, running into people, even create just like streetscapes that make that much more likely. They support local labor standards. So, when you buy a product or service from somewhere else, you don't really necessarily know what labor laws exist and whether or not they're enforced. And then there is a huge donation to local causes, so charities, but also things that might not be charities, like school teams and sports teams and things like that. Local businesses are just in the community, they're of the community, they're behind the counter, and so they get hit up a lot more often. And so big businesses love to tout out the PR opportunity with the big check, but it's when we measure the per dollar of revenue, the local businesses are doing 25 times that when you look at per dollar of revenue. So and then there's the environmental benefits. This has not often been measured. It's sort of something that's a bit intuitive about that. Local businesses are often clustered together. It's not sort of like gigantic big parking lot to parking lot type shopping. So they create more walkable communities. You tend to sort of like drive there and park and walk around to a number of local businesses. They also, again, support the local environmental standards, so Canadian environmental standards, which are much higher than in other countries. And they can reduce both transportation and waste in the supply chain. And we did a study in 2021, which partnered with Vancity, which was one of the first, I think, in the world. There's been a few others that have focused on different things, but haven't been very many, where we looked at local products purchased from a local business compared to imported products from a multinational. And we found that when we looked at 5 products, that they reduce greenhouse gas emissions, the local purchase from the local business, between 5 and 66%. So, and we didn't stack the deck. We didn't pick products that we knew were going to have a lower environmental impact. We worked with offsetters, which is now called Ostrom, and even they didn't know. We just had to work with those that were Vancity members, and so we just worked kind of opportunistically to find 5 products and found that there was a greenhouse gas benefit in every single case. So this is the results of that study, both the economic and the greenhouse gas benefit of blueberries, bread, lattes, a dress, and a bike, all purchased from a local business. The bike had a local made frame, and then parts from various places, but was assembled by a local business. Any questions about any of that? Again, that's just to get us all on the same page where the information comes from. I think sometimes what we hear is, especially from city councils members and others, is that, oh, sometimes people say that this is just a feel-good thing, and I hear that a lot, but it's based in hard economics, and so we've been studying it for years, and there's a proven case of where the economic benefit comes from, and then of course there's those social and environmental benefits as well. So we've been doing this for years and trying to build the movement in BC and beyond, but there is absolutely a rising wave of local preference out there. On the consumer side, there's, I can't even keep track of this. So I put these slides together a couple of weeks ago. There's probably been 10 studies since, but every news story, I'm getting hits on my media alerts every day that it's like study after study, they're interviewing consumers. People are not only like kind of 80-ish% are absolutely seeking out Canadian products and Canadian businesses, but also on the other side, sort of like, I don't know if they're always boycotting, but definitely trying to avoid US companies and US products. And many are also, canceling services that come from the US and or that are based in the US, and then delaying or canceling travel. So there's definitely a wave of, Canadian focus on Canadian travel, Canadian owned businesses, Canadian products. I see a lot of it, again, is happening frontline in the grocery store, where people are looking for, is it made in Canada? Is it produced in Canada? We're trying to really focus on, it also matters where you buy it. And so if you're still buying it from a big US retailer or online platform, you're not having the benefit that you could. And so we'll get into that a little bit later, but I've done a ton of media interviews lately, and I'm trying to really hammer home the local owned aspect as well as the local grown and local made, which is already really much, very much part of the conversation. There is also the preference for businesses to look for local suppliers. We do a study of the impact of buy local campaigns, ours and others in the province, after Buy Local Week every year. And one of the top line results we find is that businesses say one of the benefits of the campaign is that it makes them more aware and more likely to make local purchasing decisions themselves. So that was a bit of a surprise to us, because that has not been so much the focus of the campaign. It's more the focus of the back end, these types of workshops and things like that, but not so much the campaign itself. So we were really glad to hear, actually, that benefit is happening as part of the campaign, that businesses are becoming much more aware of their own impact. And then CFIB recently did a study with their business members. It was about 2,400 people, business owners, and finding new suppliers is definitely one of the actions businesses are considering. And so, all of this just to say that it's not just consumer facing businesses, it's also business to business, that, we're all trying to localize our supply chains as well. Any services that we have that aren't Canadian, if we didn't focus on that in the past, are looking to move to a Canadian supplier. And then again, like I said, I think there's been a whole bunch since that I haven't even just kept track on these slides, but so many local governments, BC government, Government of Canada, all of the procurement departments have been instructed to look for ways to support Canadian suppliers through government purchasing. There's various trade issues. Not all the trade agreements are just with the US. Some of them are within Canada and with Europe and other countries that might make that a little bit more difficult. We've been working on that issue for years. Our very first study looked at ways that you could try to buy more from local suppliers without getting in trouble with the trade regulations. Buy Social Canada has also been working on that, and we are partnering with them on an April 8th workshop for more focused on organizations and local governments and how you can do local purchasing and social enterprise purchasing and not get in trouble with the existing trade regime. But it's great to see that happening. We're also seeing like interprovincial trade barriers coming down, and there's just lots happening there. And so again, just the need for us all to figure out how to talk about how we're local and how to find local suppliers. So, I see the impact of the current climate is that, there's opportunities because, all these different types of purchasers are looking for local businesses and products. And there's some of the political will exists right now to, fix some of the red tape and the trade barriers and access to capital and infrastructure and other issues in the food system and other, manufacturing and all of the other sectors. But some of the challenges are that it's, the instability is driving our dollar down. So we have less purchasing power. And, those businesses who sell into the US market are having to scramble and figure out, will tariffs be applied to their products? How do they how do they replace those purchasers if they lose them? And then as we impose counter tariffs, anyone who uses US parts or ingredients is going to be impacted. So that's going to really impact our businesses and then costs for businesses and consumers. Welcome. Thanks for being here.
I'm Tamsin, Marketing Director for Stong's Market. We have 2 large format stores in Vancouver on Dunbar Street, as well as in North Vancouver in the Northwoods Plaza. And then we just opened a small concept Stong's Market up in Squamish in March, which we're really proud of, and have also had a really successful floral department called STEMS that we have now opened, sort of moved out of our Northwoods location and opened a standalone STEMS in the same parking lot as our large format grocery store. But so that's sort of our fourth location. We really focus on local, have done since we opened, and I can dive a little deeper into our story. Do you want me to just keep going?
Yes. Do you have slides or you just?
I do have
Oh,
slides.
you do. Okay.
And
Yeah.
so I'm
so-
hoping technology will work for me.
Yeah. Okay. So let me just, I think if I make you co-host, then you should
Okay.
be able to just share away at the bottom of the
So
screen
I'll
there. It
just
should be
click
in the
my
middle.
little
Yeah.
share, and here I am.
There we
Can we
go.
all see that?
Yes.
Okay,
It
great.
worked. Yeah.
Okay, so
It's on slide mode. I don't know if you want to hit slideshow, if that works for
yeah, I
you.
can
Yeah.
definitely
We're sort of seeing the
do.
back end of your,
Yeah, perfect. Does that work?
I think it just takes a sec. Yeah, there it is. That
Okay,
looks
are we
better.
good? Okay, great. So as I mentioned, Stong's Market has been prioritizing local since 1931. And so as we discuss riding the Buy Canada wave, it's something that we've been doing from the very beginning. So in our stores, we support supporting locals at the core of really everything we do at Stong's Market. We've always been supporting local and highlighting local and BC products in our stores. We have a buy local first mindset and supporting local producers and suppliers, starting even from those that are introducing products at farmers markets, is really something that is important to us and something that we actively do. We're seeing this firsthand right now with people who are entrepreneurs who are bringing their products to the Squamish farmers market because that's only on Saturdays. They're looking to work with our Squamish store to have their product in there all week. Stong's Market is 100% locally owned and operated, and we are really proud of that fact. So as discussion began with regards to tariffs, we had an increased increased number of requests from our customers to look at store signage and highlight more products that are made in Canada. So we have listened to that and rolled out made in Canada signage throughout our stores. This makes certainly the shopping experience easier for our customers who are wanting to support local and perhaps switch some of their purchasing habits. Last year, we also took our signage a step further, labeling products hyperlocal in each of our stores. And so those items are curated from vendors immediately around our Dunbar store in Vancouver. Products that are from the North Shore, so for our Northwoods location, as well as those in the Sea to Sky corridor for our Squamish store. So anything that has this hyperlocal sign with it, people know is right immediately from our community. And we love working with local vendors to feature unique products in our stores, including the bag.ca. We've got these customized bags in all of our stores that highlight local and different community things. So our local signage and call outs extend into our e-newsletter as well. We have shifted to a very lifestyle looking e-newsletter starting last year, which really aligns with our brand and where we want to take it. We have over 25,000 subscribers to our e-newsletter that we send out our deals every 2 weeks. And our open rates are between 30 and 40%. So very high open rates. People really enjoy what they're seeing. We don't just talk about products, but we talk about different national days that are coming up, local places to visit, as well as community events, staff features, and other things. So it's really an extension of our store brand. And highlighted in that are our BC as well as Canadian labels. So customers can really customize their grocery shopping list as to where they want their products to be coming from. And so what are our customers saying? We've heard from a lot of them recently. Paul says a great range of higher end foods and Stong's, clearly a thoughtful buyer, especially when it comes to meat. Great selection of bacon and sausages from various local and international sources. Will says the new expansion of stems at Dollarton Stong's location is a great space, a huge selection of flowers and other merchandise, including Thomas Haas chocolates and Rogers chocolates. Sue says, thanks for advertising what are Canadian products. Really appreciate it. And Gregor did a social media post the other day just saying everything Canadian, Stong's Market Vancouver is the best example I found of a grocery store clearly marking the origin of their produce and meat. Most of this is from there. So we're proud of the feedback that we get from our customers. And it's because of all of our love of local, our sustainability initiatives, and lots more that we were awarded a Business of the Year from the North Van Chamber in November, which we're really proud about. And I'm not sure if everybody knows, but we are expanding. So we are going to be coming to Surrey very soon in the fall. We are going to be opening a small concept Stong's Market, as well as a standalone Stems by Stong's flower shop in City Centre 4 Tower. And that's right near the Surrey Memorial Hospital. So we are proud to be locally owned, and we are proud to be in growth mode. And so this is us. This is who we are at Stong's Market. We are local. We are heavily invested in our community. We are very heavily supporting local entrepreneurs and products that are made in Canada. And we're very proud to do so. So that's us. Are there any questions?
I have a question, Tamsin.
Sure.
And maybe it's not specifically just for Stongs, but you know, it sounds like you guys are doing a fantastic job. Are there any sort of movement or initiatives happening with respect to increased interprovincial trading? Like, are you able to get products that are especially Canadian from, you know, like Saskatchewan or Nova Scotia or Alberta or whatever, that will like improve your brand, improve, you know, sort of general options for purchasing in general?
Certainly, I think our grocery managers and our buyers in particular work with our local vendors, but also some of our larger partners that are working with multiple brands. They're talking with them daily about what's new, what is available to us. And so they're in constant contact with those people. So yeah, we're always looking for different options and opportunities.
Like those Canadian distributors will be bringing on more brands, right? Yeah, from other
100%.
places. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Is there anything from the provinces which would help you do that? Like, are they, you know, telling you we're opening up these barriers, or because I just haven't heard very much.
Honestly, that is probably a question that our buyers would be able to answer better than myself. But I haven't heard of, yeah, I would say that our buyers would probably be able to answer that better than I can.
Okay, thank you very much.
Reza, you have a question?
Hi, it's Jackie.
Hi. Oh, hi, Jackie.
Thank you for the presentation. That was fantastic. I have two questions.
Yeah.
One, are you going to open in downtown Vancouver ever?
Not right now.
Okay. We used to have
Selfishly, I vote
Not
second
yet.
for that.
yeah,
Not
we used
yet.
to have capers, and yeah, that was the closest we ever came. But anyway, and also, what's the status? Like, I noticed in one of the photos you had papayas. I don't think we grow papayas in Canada, but what is the status of like exotic fruits and vegetables and that sort of thing? How does that work when you're trying to buy Canadian?
So we will still be working with getting product from many different countries. Are we looking to purchase, if there's an option between Mexico and a US product right now? Yes, we're leaning to bringing in the Mexican product.
Got it. Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
And then Our
Mhm.
message, I guess, again, I'll keep reiterating is, people, I'm getting a lot of media inquiries. Well, what about orange juice? And what about this? And what about
Mhm.
that? And I'm like, look, a lot of orange juice is manufactured in Canada with imported ingredients. And then you can buy a locally manufactured product and you can buy it from a local business. So that's 2 out of 3, right? And so we're really trying to focus on local owned businesses and then local grown and made products. And so as many of those as you can get. So hopefully if we can all take out that message, we don't want to hurt the very businesses that we're trying to help with this. And a lot of them still have US product that they ordered forever ago. And, many of them are trying to have a company that I buy my nuts from, and she buys organic nuts. It's a direct thing. And she supports like biodynamic farmers and family farms. And, she has one US supplier that she doesn't want to cut off. And so, I think it's, if we can have a bit of a more nuanced conversation about these things rather than just, sometimes, yeah, punishing the very businesses that might have, and, having food go to waste and things like that. So. Any other questions? Thank you so much for doing that. I knew you'd have lots of great things to say. Congratulations on your award and your expansion. You're just a shining light. You'll see this slide. I'll reshare my slides here, but you may not know, but I am always using Stong's as an example of how to do local labeling well. Both in store and online. And thanks also for just being a great partner of Loco. So, yeah, all you do to support local business. So, if you're marketing yourself as local, trying to get the message out in your various channels about how you are local as a business, you're going to be doing it digitally because that's the way the world is moving. We hope you're doing it offline as well as online. But just to give you some tips on how to do it online well, we have our BC Buy Local Week partner, Chris here, Molly Miller. Take it away. Do you want to share your screen instead, or?
Sure, I
Yeah,
will do
okay.
that.
And you're co-host already, so you should be able to do that. I'm going to pin you.
Show and remove the
Yeah, that
loading
looks good.
meeting controls. Again, hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. Tamsin, thank you for that great presentation. Yeah, I'll refer back to it on during some of my slides because it was, there's connection, there is overlap. So my name is Molly Miller and I am the GM at CRISP. We are a local Vancouver marketing group that helps businesses of all sizes and across all sectors grow their business through great marketing strategies or just great marketing. In my time today, I'm going to touch on a couple of strategies, but there is a huge world out there. So if I don't speak to the topic you were interested in hearing, or you have a question or a marketing challenge you'd love to connect with us on, I'm inviting everyone to book a free 45-minute consult with us, and I'll provide details at the end of my chat. So to unlock digital success for your business right now, at the core of marketing, it is about getting people to change a behavior or take an action. And as we've been talking about right now in this moment, Canadians are ready to do so. And if you are able, through your digital marketing, to show them why they should be considering your product and service, it'll help them take that action or change that behavior a little bit easier. I love this graphic because the strategies I'm going to touch on are at some of the different stages of awareness, consideration, purchase, service, and loyalty. But why I love this is it kind of highlights that the digital customer journey is no longer linear, and it is actually quite meandering. And a lot of times people go between awareness, consideration, purchase, and kind of cycle through those 3 stages. But I'm going to just highlight a couple of strategies at the different stages. So starting at awareness, kind of right on the top, A super cost-effective, in fact free strategy is setting up Google My Business if you haven't done that already. And the reason why is it is free. And secondly, Google My Business has really beefed up its features in the past couple of years. And so it is coming. Sorry, just going to pull up Chris's Google My Business profile. So when people search for marketing services and or Crisp, our profile pops up and it kind of acts as a mini website these days, highlighting like the key information at a glance. So you're able to add photos that tells a story about who you are and what you do. Your Google reviews are right there at the top, as well as kind of key contact information and hours of operation. I love how they pull out the reviews so you can actually read in detail some of these. And we add our blogs to our Google My Business profile, which is just a great way to improve our SEO score, but provide more information on what we do. You're also able to add, if you're a B2C customer like Stong's, you can add product categories. And so people can just have at a glance like what you've got in store. So highly recommend adding a Google My Business, setting up your Google My Business profile if you haven't yet. Okay, so moving kind of further down the funnel into consideration, the consideration phase, and the opportunity here is where you are engaging and educating your customers. It is still really important to build your digital community on social media. And so the first step is to look at all the platforms and eliminate the ones owned by evil American billionaires. No, just kidding. They're all owned by evil American billionaires. So actually the first step is like grieving that fact a little bit, maybe acceptance, and like we need to start our Canadian social media platform where people are. But first and foremost, you're wanting to pick the channels that are right for your business, and that really means where your customers are. There are the obvious suspects of Facebook and Meta, or sorry, Facebook and Instagram. But I'll give you an example of one of Crisp's clients. They sell a product to Tesla owners. And they were looking for a great space to raise awareness and came across a subreddit community of 2.3 million Tesla owners, where the conversations were rich and diverse, and like they were able to kind of do some product research and have good conversations. So I encourage everyone to look at all the options, because you might find a really wonderful pocket of your customers. The second thing when it comes to social media is really focusing on just 1, 2, 3 platforms. Each platform needs its own strategy, its own content, and it is quite time consuming. And so as an example, Chris, we are a team of 13, and we really have time to do just one platform well, which is LinkedIn for us. So, kind of picking the 1 to 3. It is possible to delegate social media if you can invest some time in a content plan and some training. And it's a really wonderful thing to take off your plate. And if you aren't able in this moment to delegate it to another person, like an intern, I would love to introduce you to my new best friend and colleague, ChatGPT. And this is where brainstorming topics and brainstorming social media posts is a beautiful place for ChatGPT to shine. Yes, you are going to have to edit, and it's more important than ever that you're not just posting AI content. But man, it's so nice to have a little list of ideas and you're not starting from scratch. So I would have a look at that, and then finally share your local story in impact. And Amy is going to wrap up this presentation with lots of examples, and Tamsin also highlighted some great ways to share on social media. Okay, and so a little bit further down the marketing funnel, we at CRISP highly recommend prioritizing email address collection. And it's because it's a way to further build your digital community without having the algorithms involved. It is a one-to-one communication connection. There's kind of two key opportunities to collect email addresses, and that is usually right before someone's going to take an action. They are really interested in you, and they might exchange their email address for information or for signing up to a newsletter and being part of VIP insider updates. And the second opportunity to collect an email address is, of course, when they purchase from you. So leverage those, maximize those, and I really recommend starting a newsletter, even if you just send out one for that first year. It's a wonderful way to continue building that digital community. If people give you their email address, they want to be part of your community, they want to learn more. And so a newsletter is a great way to do that. And finally, if you do have an e-commerce website, so that means people can check out on your website, make sure you have those key automations set up, like abandoned cart, post-purchase sequences, like we received your payment, shipping time, and those things. They have become expectations in this e-commerce world of ours, and it is just it's great to do those by automation because they really impact your business. Okay, and finally, don't forget about your ads strategy as a great way to boost visibility and sales. But before you turn on any ads and pay people to discover you, first and foremost, make sure your site is prepared for advertising. So that means the product or service that you have is easy to understand, and people can get the information they need. Make sure you've got a way for people to ask questions, either via chatbot or like a clear contact us, so that they're able to be in touch with you if they can't quite get the information they need. And finally, make sure that call to action on your website is set up. So whether that is like buy now, sign up for a membership, book a call, make sure that is all working really well before you start paying to send people to your site. There are many types of ads, but to be honest with you, in 2025, all of CRISP's clients are using these three types: Google ads, Meta ads, and LinkedIn ads. Just, kind of quickly on some of the differences. So Google ads are ads shown when users are actively searching via keywords. And I think we all know, asking Google questions about a product or service, and your ad appears. And that is great for lead generation, direct sales, and those more high intent purchases that might require actually a bit more research and more research. The second kind of really common type of ad is Meta, and that is targeting users based on demographics, behaviors, and interests. And those are great for brand awareness, engagement, and maybe those smaller impulse purchases. Many clients, many brands use a combination of Meta and Google ads. Usually, Meta to kind of raise that awareness, and Google ads might be engaging with people further down the funnel at that consideration stage. And then last but not least, LinkedIn ads, and it's targeting users based on job title, industry, company, and experience. Basically, if you are in a B2B sector and you're selling to other businesses, LinkedIn is a great place to be, and LinkedIn ads are a great tool. We do recommend for this hiring an expert. Okay, everyone on this call has, of course, the capabilities and the intelligence to learn all of these ads, strategies, and platforms, but do you really want to do that? Do you want to spend your time there? There are many folks and affordable folks in the space that can help with these strategies. Okay, last but not least, just really quickly, it wouldn't be a webinar presentation in 2025 if there wasn't a slide about AI. And just a couple of points on AI, you know, from Crisp's perspective. First, embrace it because it's here to stay. And we are actually in a really exciting moment with AI because unlike the technology of the last 25 years that has been computer engineer and programmer led, where you need a specific language to maximize those platforms, AI works on normal language. So you can go in today and get it to do things like create LinkedIn posts for you, just using everyday language. So that is a really exciting, empowering, and equalizing moment for us. And the second thing is, man, we're all in the learning phase right now. No one knows, no one has mastered AI. And so now is the time to learn and kind of not get left behind, I guess I would say. At CRISP, we are very purposeful about building a culture around learning about AI. So we have a Slack channel that is dedicated to our team members sharing tips and tricks and fails, just to like kind of, again, build that culture and embrace the learnings. AI is so impactful in kind of two key areas. One, brainstorming ideas and topics. And the second is analyzing great amounts of data. And I will share that this week, I lead the sales for CRISP. And so I took the transcripts from 20 customer discovery calls that I've recently had, imported them into ChatGPT and asked for the top objections. And it was really interesting, the responses that I got. And then I actually asked it to suggest some language to overcome those objections. And it's not perfect. You're not reading it rote, but man, that is a like 4 to 6 hour exercise that was accomplished in 50 minutes. And I had a couple of new ideas to move forward. So yeah, I will leave it at that. If you're interested in connecting with myself or a team member for 45 minutes, please email our executive assistant, Tape Obasa at crispmedia.ca, or you can put your name in the chat and I will I'll pick it up and we'll book you in. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Molly. I don't know. I always find that just so super useful, even though we work with you on our campaign. And I sort of feel like I get a lot of that behind the scenes when we do our debriefs on what's working and what's not working. And should we still be working with these evil companies?
I know.
You know, so I appreciated that you threw that in there because it literally is is part of our conversation every time we meet. I'm like, is this still relevant? Can we still spend our money here? Is it just crazy people on those platforms now? So I appreciate that you kind of keep us up to date on all that. But I always learn something from like yesterday or Tuesday when we first did this workshop. I was like, oh, we publish blogs. I am not publishing blog. I knew about Google My Business. We try to keep that up to date because of, all of your intel on that. Google My Business is free. And it also, I don't know if you mentioned, but it also, when you keep that up to date and you keep it refreshed, like new photos, keep your hours up to date and all of that, Google will bump you up in the ranking because you're kind of interacting with their, their product and your profile there. I guess one question I have is, what about SEO? Is there any kind of like top tips that you have for search engine optimization for people in there as they sort of are putting out their info about, like, everybody's putting on their website and all their communication channels that they're locally owned and operated and what can be found in their business. But any tips about that other than keeping the Google My Business profile up to date?
Yes, yeah, like SEO is kind of comprised of two parts. It is the keyword strategy and then the technical like back-end architecture of your website. And so to be honest, if you have any questions about your current SEO impact and score and how to make recommendations for improvement, definitely get in touch. We have like a little We have a do-it-yourself audit if people want to audit it themselves. And then we also have really affordable partners that can do a thorough SEO audit, give you, your top 10 keywords, your long tail keywords, and have a look at your website and make sure that it's optimized for those keywords, because they really work together. You can be prolifically producing content, but if you don't have your website set up correctly, you don't maximize your SEO searchability score. So.
Right. Okay, that's useful. Anyone else? Okay, thank you so much. We're in the home stretch here. I just wanted to make sure that you had a sense of what campaigns we run and how to leverage them for your business or the organizations that you're working with. So BC Buy Local is kind of the name for our overall campaign now. That started out as a consumer-facing campaign, and we've been running it for 13 years. Again, in partnership with various organizations like CRISP. Part of the reason why I had Molly attend today is because, they basically have all this expertise from working with us and the way that we have targeted our ads. We've spent a lot of money on ads over the years, and to this very specific consumer, mostly consumer audience that is interested in local. And so that is growing now, but really CRISP has an excellent understanding of that from working with us, I guess, and targeting for us. They've done a really good job. Jacqueline, do you have a quick question?
Yeah, thanks. I thank you very much, Molly. That was a really great presentation. Yeah, so just wanted to understand a little bit. We learned during COVID, we learned about Local BC, and that was really valuable for us. And then most recently through West End BIA, and we do use our BIA a lot. So I wanted to understand from you, Amy, the relationship with the BIAs, and is that a conduit that we can use for the B2B and understanding how we can leverage, back and forth cross promotion?
100%, yes. So I was just about to say the second campaign. Now, just to finish that off, the Buy Local campaign normally is consumer focused. It's been running for many years. I used to focus around kind of like Buy Local week ahead of the holiday shopping season when just more Canadians are spending money. But now is all year focused on all the major purchasing holidays, multicultural purchasing holidays where people do dinners and purchase gifts. And then 2 years ago, we launched our Buy Local business to business campaign. So that's called Amplify Local. It has been focused around the Small Business Week in I think it's kind of like the second week in October. And so Canadian Small Business Week, it's also some people call it Small Business Month, all of October. And so we have been doing a B2B campaign around that time. And we are partnered with the BIAs, although full disclosure, so the BIAs have been great at activating our consumer campaign and have done that really well with their businesses. We sort of rely on them. We work with some of the bigger businesses on our campaigns, but not every one-to-one business. We'll send out our materials and all of that, but we hope to activate the campaign kind of through our partners. So we provide the high level stats and facts and all of the turnkey materials, and then the BIAs, the chambers, the bigger businesses use them during that time. You can use them all year round, and most of our materials are open sourced. We'll send you all the print materials for free as part of our, our campaign partners sponsor that. But, the thing is, when we have a specific week or month that we're focusing on it, then we're all doing it together. And so it's much more powerful because we're cutting through the clutter. There's just, everybody's using the hashtag, everyone's, sharing the material. And so it's much more powerful, and our stats from CRISP, prove that out. We are trying to figure out what the exact comparable strategy is to make our B2B campaign more effective. So we know that the chambers and the BIAs all have many business to business type businesses, and are trying to figure out how do we activate through those partners, and then how do we bring on new partners that might be like business associations, and where they can be the campaign partner, and then we can activate or connect with businesses through them. So maybe we can put a pin in that, and if you have ideas, I would love to connect after the workshop, but I appreciate you bringing it up. And we're still figuring it out. It's taken us 13 years to, it didn't take us that whole time, but like we built our campaign every year to get more reach and more partners and be more effective on the consumer side. And we are still figuring that out on the business to business side, but have identified also that this particular moment that is happening now is a really good opportunity to figure out how do we bring more business to business type businesses into the tent? How do we get them talking about how they're local? How do we get them engaged in the campaign? And then, who are the partners on the campaign? Is it, again, those bigger businesses? Can we bring in the business associations? Or, I think about like construction industry and others who are trying to push this as well. So we're just starting to figure that out, and as part of the B2B campaign. So hopefully that answers your question. We have some tools for both campaigns. A similar strategy in both is, again, we take our research, we create, campaign materials that can be used. It's usually around the economic impact or how to talk about how you're local as a business. And then we do digital advertising and social posts. So that's similar, both campaigns, different times a year, different holidays, etc. And then for the Amplify Local campaign, again, we're trying to build those tools for businesses to, we already have kind of like a supply chain mapping tools to help you understand, like, okay, which of my suppliers are local, and that's part of your community impact. And then how do I localize how do I figure out if they're local? You can't do everything at once. So how do you prioritize which ones you look at? And then how can we connect you to local suppliers? So somebody mentioned office supplies. I'm happy to connect. Or if you're from City of New West, you could attend our April 9th workshop, where we're going to talk a lot more about how to connect with those local suppliers. So those are our two campaigns. We have some tools. Again, all of this is open source. Here's an example in the background here of one of the businesses in North Van using our materials. So they just printed off our digital materials, put the logos in, printed them off in bigger format. And so we're super happy to provide those digital materials, and we also provide them in print form, and we've mailed them off across the province to many, many businesses. And part of our strategy there is, we're Loco BC and we have our own branding, and that's sort of like the back end not-for-profit side of things, and the business to business, all of our members and are on there. And then the BC Buy Local site is our campaign site, and that's sort of where we want all of the traffic for our campaigns to go. And we very specifically have not put our logo, our logo's like on the web page, but all of the materials are BC Buy Local branded, and they're intended to be co-branded with different communities. And so I'll show you some new materials we made too we kind of did them in red and white with a flag to take advantage of this Buy Canada moment. And we've got Canva links for people that you can go to Canva and you can put your own logo on there, and then go to a local printer and either print cling films for people's doors, or so it's kind of more intended for like a partner that represents businesses. So they're intended to be co-branded. And part of the reason why we did that and left our logo off is because we wanted to create a bigger umbrella where there was kind of like a province-wide recognition, because everyone, and my concern about what's happening now is now everyone's like, we're going to create our own campaign and we're going to go. And so again, that it sort of dilutes the message when everyone is like, buy in my little community. And that's fantastic. And we want you to do that as maybe priority number one. And then maybe priority number two is to buy in that region, or then to buy in that, region of the province, and then to buy in the province, and then to buy in Western Canada, and then to buy Canadian. So, people have to figure out their own value around that, but we do get recognition because we've been running it for 13 years, and because we will mail, we've had partners across the province and we'll mail materials across the province. People do say, like, from Surrey and New West and North Van and Tofino and Sea to Sky, people see our stickers and they're like, oh yeah, that's that by BC thing, right? And so And so it creates kind of that umbrella for all of the other programs. So that's part of our strategy there. So again, it's all open source. We've got How Are You Local poster, which is the one on the left here, where you can that's your sort of, you can map your supply chain, whether you're an organization or a business. We've got an infographic producer and some supply chain mapping tools that we have produced as part of the infographic, but also part of our Amplify campaign that we've just launched last year. And then we have business profiles that kind of the model could be used for any business. You could, use those questions and the way we feature local businesses, even in your communications and on your websites. And then for our partners like, New West and Chinatown Foundation and VanCam and others, if you have businesses in your area, we often will do those business profiles as part of our partnership with your area. So if you go to bcbuylocal.com, download resources, we have all of these materials there, including our new Buy Canada materials. And the How Are You Local poster, part of the thing we love about this is sometimes businesses are shy to talk about how great they are. And so this is a way for businesses to talk about themselves and their connection to the local economy and how their business actually holds up that ecosystem by talking about their suppliers, which everybody loves to talk about their local suppliers. And so you put your business in the middle, and then you can do this digitally. There's a PDF that you can download, and it's a fillable PDF, so you can do it that way. Some people who are a little bit more graphic savvy have put other suppliers' logos in there. The print version, you can just do with a Sharpie if we send that to you. And what's great about this is then if you do it, we hope that you'll share it on social and then tag your suppliers. And then you get like a little bit of organic and reach and engagement from that, because everybody loves a shout out on social media. And so this has worked really well for years. We have a gallery on Facebook of all like the many iterations from businesses over the years. And it's just kind of a fun exercise that we encourage everyone to engage in. And the second thing is the infographic generator. We used to do these in Canva as part of our business profiles, and then got a grant from the government in 2021, Launch Online, to create an auto generator. And so if you go in, this is around those 4 Ps that I mentioned of economic impact. So, profits, purchasing, payroll, and philanthropy. Nobody wants to talk about their profits, even though we don't consider it a dirty word. It's, no one wants to advertise that. So it really just focuses on purchasing. So purchasing within BC, and then Canadian purchasing include outside of the BC focus. And then, so inventory and services, and then local employment, which most local businesses, it's 100%. And then any charitable giving that you do. And so all you need is 3 pieces of data to produce one of these infographics. It can be much longer, and then you can kind of click off the ones that you don't want to include. These little icons are standard, or you can upload your own photo. So if you have a photo of your employees or one of your purchasers or suppliers dropping things off, then you can upload that into the little icon. And it's kind of got the BC Buy Local at the bottom, because we heard from people that actually, I want you as a third party to sort of verify this, so that it's not just me saying it. And so you can go and create your own. And then we have kind of a list of suppliers. Sometimes people include waste management companies that aren't necessarily local because they have a Canadian name in their brand. Banks are another one. The big 5 banks we don't consider local in terms of the definition we use for private. It has to be a private company to be considered local by us. And then what's another one? Office supplies is another, because people often will say, well, it's local, like it's in my local area, has a store in my area, but is not really locally owned. So those are 3 categories that we often find people bump up against. And companies big or small, again, everybody buys services. And if you can look at your local services, especially the bigger spend, like insurance is one of them, and so if you look at those bigger spend and include as many suppliers as you can, then you can go create an infographic. So here's our definitions. I am not a big fan of definitions. We do terrible product labeling in Canada. I think everybody's found out during this whole process. And yeah, local ownership is something people are not talking about. We created these definitions when we launched our campaign because we sort of felt like, well, we had to draw a line in the sand somewhere. I much prefer to work with a business to have them say how they are local and have us measure that, because some locally owned franchises are great for the community and others don't do anything for the community. And so, I like to keep it a little bit more like, well, let's have a conversation about how you're local and, talk about where the 4 Ps of economic impact are in your business and what you could be doing. However, for our campaign, we created these definitions. They're mostly based on a kind of like 50% plus happens in the community. So, if you're local owned, more than 50% of the owners live here. Local grown is a little bit easier, right? Because it's an agricultural product, either like kind of food plants, fiber-based, wood, things like that. It's a lot easier, a more simple supply chain. And then local made is more around the manufacturing. So kind of more than 50% of the manufacturing happens here. And that certainly lines up with the Canadian definition of Canadian made. And then Canadian grown, the product of Canada is more like 98% plus of the value is. So that it doesn't exactly line up, but mostly it does. And then we provide sample supplier categories. If you go to our Amplify Local site, you can kind of download a spreadsheet, which has some of these categories there. And honestly, a lot of people, if they don't know if it's a local business, we just encourage you to Google it, look for, a Canadian URL, a local address or phone number, area code. And then if you can't find that, at the About Us, or just Google who owns, your local waste management company or office supply company. If it comes up with a stock exchange information kind of in the same place where Wally showed you the Google My Business, then we don't consider it local. You might still want to support a Canadian based public company, but the profits are certainly not going to local owners. They're distributed to local shareholders. And our problem with public companies is more that they try to extract more of the profit for shareholders, and then often at the expense of the community and employees and things like that. One of the big 5 banks this week was in the news for making a $5 billion profit in this quarter and also laying off a ton of employees. So that's part of the problem with that whole part of the system in my view. We just made some new Buy Canada tools with this. We had a logo that we used for Canada Day many years around this Canadian flag. And so again, made some stickers you can print at a local printer, or in the middle at the bottom there are print your own. So there's an Avery template, and you can, just either, again, use a local printer. If you have a color printer, you just have to get the right template. And you can print your own. Those are local grown and local made. We have a larger local owned sticker. And then, at the bottom right is an example of just one of our partners. You can go to the Canva link that we've provided and include your own logo. And then you can print a co-branded one for yourself. And then we've done a kind of a Proudly Canadian logo frame. And there's an example of one of our campaign partners using it around their logo. And we've provided some info. I'll give you those on the slides afterwards because we're just getting tight on time. But we've provided some directories for finding local suppliers. We encourage you to add other values other than local, like social enterprise or BIPOC-owned businesses, environmental focused businesses, because you can get local and other values when you do your purchasing. And then I've provided some examples of leveraging the campaign. And just some examples of using the campaign materials, who's done it, how they've done it, both at the business side of things and then at the business partner side of things. Examples of stories that we've done and how we encourage businesses and our partner business groups to share those out. They often include using our statistics and then kind of highlighting who's local in your community or how it shows up in your business. And, you know, we just encourage you to tell your story. I love this example of, this is my dog's pet store that I love. And they've really done a good job of, you know, various posts during Buy Local Week, showing their family, the people behind the business, highlighting their employees, how they love it. And then, you know, integrating our stats in there, using our materials to talk about, hey, here's how we're local. Here's why local is so important. And here's how it shows up in our business. And that's really what we're encouraging, you know, businesses to do. There you are, Stongs. I know this is a little bit old, but during Buy Local Week, we love the in-store and the online. You know, it's a great example of every day in the week. A number of years ago during Buy Local Week, they had you know, use the dot, but used it to talk about how they're local and supporting local suppliers, and also feature some of the great products they could get in store. I also love this example of a poke, you know, organization, where they're like, there's the poke, and they literally are pointing to every ingredient and, you know, providing either that it's, you know, BC or actually which, you know, farm or producer it comes from. And then I also love this example of, you know, again, featuring your clients as a B2B organization. Both a creative agency in Squamish who did it, and then a printer in Langley who does it in basically their entire social media is focused on who their clients are. And so they're kind of holding up those client organizations, but also featuring the products they're providing for those clients, right? T-shirts and hats and print jobs and things like that. So I really love that because it focuses on the interconnectedness of the organizations when they feature their suppliers, or their clients rather. And then here's some examples of how our partners have, you know, either used print or, you know, blogs, or you know, in Pemberton, they use their welcome sign, newsletters, all that kind of stuff. You know, leveraging communications and media at this time, especially, is really crucial. You know, our partners, we always are trying to get you in the news, right? I mean, it's like, I want to take every news opportunity, and I do it, but also, you know, if we're partnered with you, or we know what you're doing in your business, then we want you to be a spokesperson. And so in the middle at the top there is a year ago, not just last Buy Local Week, but a year ago, you know, when Global News does a feature on Buy Local Week for Consumer Matters, I managed to get a couple of New West businesses featured in that media cycle that week. So we're always trying to do that. We got Chinatown Foundation and a few businesses in Chinatown featured last year, and so we're trying our best to pass those media opportunities on to you and feature your businesses. And then promoting locals you love, like through you know, whether they're organizations you partner with or that are in store. You know, there's an acupuncture place near me that bye Molly, thank you, that does just a community board. You know, a lot of places are doing that, just featuring other things happening in the community, other businesses that you can support. So that's a great thing to do as well. You know, again, use our materials, integrate them with your own, you know, use the stats and facts. And, you know, it's definitely more powerful if we're using the same materials, taking out the same message. And we're trying to do some more posts around, we're working with BIBC and the Farmers Markets Association of BC, and trying to coordinate that message around, you know, local owned, local grown, and local made. So sorry, I went a few minutes over. Does anybody have any questions, comments? Thank you all for being here. Thanks so much to our partners.
Thanks, Amy. I'm really looking
Yeah.
forward to the Amplify
Yes.
campaign. I know we've really focused on the buy local and the kind of consumer aspect of it.
Yeah.
But the whole circular economy and really amplifying the B2B connections
Yes. Yeah.
is a great new area that we want to and need to and should get into.
Yes. Well, I'd love, if you have any ideas, do let me know. And we're going to run some more. We did some posts during Small Business Week, but we're going to do some again this spring, and we'll do some more advertising just because of the moment we're in. I think it's a good opportunity. And as I mentioned, we're talking to other organizations about how can we work together too, because I think there's a really great opportunity now. People are really crowdsourcing, like what local products are you buying, and you know, what stores are local, who should we avoid, all of that. And so I do think there's an opportunity to leverage that. and get businesses to tell us like who are their great local suppliers, and get you know, get the suppliers to also bring their name forward. And so yeah, we had started to crowdsource like just a simple spreadsheet of suppliers, and just, you know, I think that there's tools out there. Again, I think, well, you know, Molly's point about using AI, I think that there's lots of opportunity to do that now. So that's going to be the focus of our time from now through to spring. So yeah.
Great.
Awesome. Thank you all for being here. Enjoy the sun that's out there if you're in a place where it's sunny. Thank God the rain has ended in the Lower Mainland for the time being anyway. Bit of a reprieve.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay,
Thank
thanks,
you.
thanks everybody. Take care.